Hey guys, I'm Tom Roy, and I've been skating for over 20 years. I'm here to give you all the details that you need to know to learn tricks as fast and efficiently as possible, and of course make it fun in the process. Every trick has that one tip that you should never forget. Once you know what that is, it's in the bag. Let's get into it. Before we start, I'm going to clean this dirty grip tape real quick. Look at that tail, look at all that. Welcome back guys, we are here at another quarter pipe. As you know, or as you may know, my knee has been hurt, still recovering from this injury so I can't pop. But it's brought us to do a lot of cool quarter pipe tutorials like this. So let's learn pivot fakies. Before you're ready to try this trick on a quarter pipe, it's a lot easier to get comfortable with it first on a bank. So I'll show you what that looks like. It's gonna be way easier to go up on something straight like that versus something curved and just kind of stalling on your way up the bank. You can even do it on the top of the bank, at the top corner of it. It's just a little bit easier to get out of and just to get comfortable with the motion before you're ready to do it on the coping on a quarter pipe. And when you do it on a bank, you don't have to turn quite as far as you do on a quarter pipe. You can angle it a little bit less. This is just to get used to it. Let's get into the foot position. For the front foot. On this trick, I put my foot way up on the board, up over those top bolts. Now it might be a little bit different for you depending on how long your legs are. I have long legs, so I like to have it way up here. I don't want it to be facing this way. I want it to be at a little bit of an angle. Now the back foot. I like to have my foot pretty far back on the tail for this trick, kind of over this edge. I'll explain why it's important to have it on this edge, but think about that placement. Obviously you have to make little adjustments based on the size of your feet, but right about here is where I like to have my back foot. As I mentioned in my other quarter pipe tutorials, it's important where you're looking as you're rolling up to the trick. So as I'm riding up to the coping, my eyes are already looking at the coping from back here. And then as you approach, right when you get to the coping to do the trick, start looking down at your feet. You're gonna have to watch your board as you're locking into it. Look down at your board, and as you're rolling away, that's when you can start to look a little bit ahead of you. Okay, so you're rolling up the quarter pipe to the coping. You have to make sure that you're angled out from the quarter pipe as you're rolling up it and back down it. All right, we're going up to lock in. And as you get to the coping right here, this is a very vital part of this trick, is you gotta think to turn your legs but not your torso. So don't let your torso turn with your legs. Super important with pivot fakies. When you get up to the coping, shift those legs this way, but notice how my torso is still facing this way. It doesn't change. So what helps you just twist your torso is your arms. So watch my arms when I do a pivot fakie. So when I twist, watch my left arm. It's already facing forward the way that I'm going, but as I twist, I keep my left arm facing that way. And also watch my right arm. As I'm getting into it, my right arm also goes this way. My arms help aid my torso in not turning when my legs are turning. So now let's talk about what your back foot does as you're locking in. So right as you get into the pivot fakie, it's kind of a fast motion. You almost have to give it a little scoop. Don't take too long turning to get into it. So the most vital part of pivot fakies is how you lock into the coping. As you're locking in, you don't want to go too far up on the coping, so your outer wheel is hugging it. You want your inner wheel to be hugging the coping. See how it's pinched and hugging this wheel on the coping? It's like a lock-in. You want to be on that side because it's going to be a lot easier to come out. If you end up locking in with your truck way up on the coping, you can always just shift it and then go in. So to lock in like that, you have to be putting your weight down in the right spot. So you have your toe on this edge because right before you get into it, you have to push down to get into the pivot. But then, right when you lock in, you shift your weight and put a lot of weight down on this heel side of your board. That's what's gonna help you lock it and hug that wheel against the coping. But you keep your foot in this position with the toe on the other edge because when you're going back in, you have to lean slightly over the toe side and then pull your board back in. So lock that heel, tilt your board this way, and lean in. Also, as you're locking in, you want your front foot to tilt a little bit right as you're getting into it, and then once you're locked in, you can flatten your foot more. And as you're locked in, pay attention to the angle that your board is at. You don't want your board to be too angled this way. I actually like to have it almost parallel with the coping, just at a slight angle, because my foot is able to rest on the coping and on the deck a lot easier from this angle, versus if my board's angled like this, notice it's a lot more wobbly and unstable. So if you turn it a little bit more, boom, see how easily I'm sitting on there? Just go right in. I know it can be scary going into this for the first time. So what you can do to get comfortable with it is you can stall it and then just jump off your board. That'll get you familiar with getting onto the coping. And when you're getting ready to go back in, you want to be leaning into the quarter pipe with your body. Don't be too far up above the coping, because then when you go in, you have more of a chance of clipping it, hanging up on the coping, or slipping out once you get in. But it is a commitment. It's kind of scary, you know, that's like point of no return, is when you're leaning in, you just go for it. So as you lean in, right at the same time is when you start to push down on this edge of the tail, so you can get that center of the tail pressing down on the quarter pipe. That's what helps you get off of it. So push down on that center, make sure it touches, because that's gonna get your front wheels as far up as they can so they can get out of the way of the coping. And you just gotta hold it for just a second and then slap those front wheels down. And then swing your arms to be parallel with your body again. And just remember, leaning into the quarter pipe is way safer than leaning this way. Otherwise you'll get way more hurt if you lean this way and you fall. Roll away in pretty much the same foot position, look a little bit ahead of you, and tell your friends. That's all I got for Pivot Fakies, guys. Thanks again for watching another one of our tutorials. Let's do some. Before we do, make sure you stick around for our key takeaways afterwards. Before you go, be sure to hang on to these key takeaways. Turn your legs, but not your torso. Lock in by hugging your inner wheel to the coping. Rest your heel on the coping to hold it. Stall at a slight angle, not too much, and press down on that center/toe side of your tail so you can lift those front wheels up and roll away. See you guys in the next tutorial. You!